This week's edition of NJBI is Minding Your Business is brought to you in part by AT&T, helping family, friends, and neighbors connect in meaningful ways every day. By PSE&G, powering a future where people use less energy that's cleaner, safer, and delivered more reliably than ever. By New Jersey's community colleges, aligning education to build an innovative workforce. Find out how your business can benefit at njpathways.org. And by New Jersey Business Magazine, providing critical information needs for New Jersey's business community for more than 67 years.
Welcome to NJBI's Mind Your Business. I'm Bob Considine. Well, when it comes to the impact of artificial intelligence in HR and payroll, there are things to be wary of and things to embrace. Here to break it all down for us is Prime Point Director of Learning and Development, Judy Saylor. Judy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been looking forward to this conversation in terms of AI and HR and payroll. But let's talk about Prime Point first. What can you tell the folks about what this business is and the services it provides?
Well, Prime Point is a payroll and HR company. Just to tell you how good it is, I'm never leaving. I'm going to retire from this company. And I've had multiple jobs in the past, but this one is the one.
You're staying.
I'm staying.
Yeah, good.
We service clients throughout the United States and Puerto Rico. And we are very much about a personal touch client base. We want folks to feel confident in what we're doing. We want folks to understand that, it's a partnership with them.
Right.
And we've been in existence for over 40 years, and we're going to do another 40 more at this rate.
40 years, wow. We have Prime Point at NJBIA.
Yes, you do.
And what I love about it as an employee, the platform in which to, take time off or work with the calendar is tremendous. I only wish I could take more vacation time so I can use the platform more. But it's great. Let's talk a little bit about AI-driven process. How does that bring more efficiencies to businesses as it relates to this?
So what we're looking at is an opportunity to take those mundane kind of tasks that you can run through a system and have them do the work, right?
Okay.
The people should be moving more towards the strategic opportunities. When you talk about being able to save time, you're saving money.
Right.
You're also not driving staff into the ground and having them work crazy hours at any rate. Yeah. Systems like ours have the ability to review applications. And so you can filter out folks who really aren't a match for what you're looking for.
Through AI.
Through AI.
Right.
And the ability to process, some folks are getting hundreds of applications, and not all those people are actually really for the product or the company that they're looking for.
Or people, probably, for that matter.
Or people, yeah. There is an app already right now where you can have 100 applications pushed out in a day. Mm-hmm. People are not actually behind that doing it. They're just clicking a button and off it goes.
Right.
Good for them, but not good for the HR person who has to kind of filter through all that.
Yeah.
So using a system like ours, you have the ability to kind of push some of that excess out and then focus on what you really need to do.
Right.
We go through the opportunity for processing invoices. Mm-hmm. Once you put in the details and the data, numbers, et cetera, it can run on its own. We do that at our offices. We can see, hundreds of invoices can come out in a day and not be something that someone is sitting there running through the pages to get it done all the time. And then the last piece is that it can create reports and it can synthesize the data for you. So it will make that time saver for so many people. I was at a conference this weekend and a young woman came over to me after we were discussing AI and she said, I don't have the ability and the time to synthesize all this. Is there something I can use?
Right.
We went right to a product and I showed her where you upload the document and it pushed it in and it pulls all that data for you and it gives you a report.
Yeah.
It's going to save time for tons of people who, we know people are report driven. We like to see data.
Right.
It'll save people a lot of time and energy.
I always feel like that's perfect the way you explained it, but I always feel like, so you tell that person at that meeting about AI and how it's going to help, but maybe there's a reluctance. Maybe there's, I don't buy it. How could there be no human interaction in this and it's going to give me what I want? What do you say to that?
Well, the first part of it is lots of folks are afraid of AI.
Yeah.
And we've been using AI for a really long time. If anybody's ever touched Google, you got AI right there.
Right.
You know, it's listening to us. It shows up on the shows that I want to watch. It knows.
It cleaned my car yesterday. Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Send that my way. When someone's reluctant, it's, again, we're very human touch. Our teams are set up to, when you call, it's no more than a 7-second wait that you're going to get one of our staff.
Right.
And our intention is to walk through it with you on whatever your concerns are. This young lady at this conference, she and I actually spoke yesterday again because she had some questions.
Right.
You can't break it. You can make it stronger, you can improve it, you can, utilize other tools to marry on top of that, but it's not going to be the end of everything. Staff still are going to keep their jobs. They're going to be doing different jobs. The skills they used to do, filing papers and so forth, they're not going to do that anymore.
Right.
They're going to do more strategic things. They're going to be learning new skills. So we have to, change happens.
Right.
Several years ago, none of us had cell phones either, so we'll get through it.
Right. I want to go back to something you said earlier about hiring with AI, because it's interesting to me. You could possibly maybe hire somebody, if you're not using AI for the hiring process, maybe you're bringing in somebody who is not qualified for the job because you just looked at the resume yourself and you hope for the best, and maybe that person had to go. Have you ever heard of these situations?
Unfortunately, yes. I am also a college professor, and I know of several colleges where they hired people at a level that this should have all been vetted.
Right.
It was not.
Right.
And it's human nature to try to get ahead, so to speak. But then you've hired someone who does not have the skill set that they portrayed they did.
Right.
I have seen it in everything from youth development up where, you're interviewing 100 people at a time, at any given time. And so it's hard to get it right all the time. Even, large corporations do hiring. And one of the missteps that one of them took was that they allowed the AI to learn. And so this organization, the AI learned that men were the only ones good for this job.
Oh.
So
it's
all
like a
of
bias almost, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it becomes a bias. And so women were getting pushed off. It's a simple thing, but this is where we have to keep saying to folks,
Right.
the human touch still has to be in this process.
Exactly, yeah.
You can't just say, oh, go ahead, go do it. No, someone needs to be checking, someone needs to be making sure that you're getting the right information, that you're looking at all of the parameters of the person, and you're actually going back and going, okay, let me double check all this, because it still needs to have that human touch to it.
Right. Let me throw some topics, AI topics, and I'm just going to, word association, tell me how AI could help, or maybe you got to be careful with AI on, onboarding and training. How does AI help that?
So with onboarding, what I talk to people about is that these are staff coming in, but they're customers. And as a customer, I want to know we're having a dialogue.
Right.
So you can set up cues that if I finish this part, click, I put it in, it's going to go in, and you're going to get an email that says, thank you so much for entering this information. I needed this. Next, can you do this?
Right.
So now you've got this dialogue going back and forth. We don't want good staff to walk away. If you're not talking to them, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
They will wander away to the next thing that is actually paying attention to them.
Right.
So onboarding has to have that level of communication back and forth.
Right.
Training is huge. Lots of the large organizations, they have setups where their staff come in once a week and they literally are sitting in what looks like a video game machine, and they're going through a training. And their training can be evaluated, right? So if I answer this and it's not the right answer, it's going to show that question again, so I learn the correct answer to it.
Right.
So it's a question of the time for staff training, because often that's the one thing that we lose out on. But then the opportunity for them to learn all the pieces that we really want them to learn, so they can become great employees.
Yeah, well said. What about performance management?
Performance management is one of those things where I kind of teeter. You have to have that one-on-one conversation. You can have, in our system, you can have where the employee will first do their portion of it, and they will put in their
Right.
all of the things that they feel they have accomplished during the year, or 6 months, whatever it might be. And then the employer gets to look at it and go through that process too.
Right.
But then you both have to sit down. You know, the best performance evaluations are when two people are together and we're having a good conversation and we're talking about what do we want to do for the future and how do we get to that.
Right. What about risk management? That's a big thing. We kind of dipped our toe in that. Let's get a little bit more risk management.
So I will tell you a while ago, my son had a book fair, right? So in the middle of the book fair, I get that dreaded phone call from our credit card company that says, someone is purchasing $600 worth of alcohol in the state of Texas.
Wow.
Are you there? No.
Is he there?
No, I'm not. And I find it rude you didn't invite me.
Right.
What the banks are doing is they're having AI evaluate transactions.
Oh, okay.
Have you bought from this location before? What state are you in? A lot of credit cards say to you, if you're going to travel, at least let us know you're going. That way they're monitoring to make sure nobody's getting into your checking account, your bank account, et cetera.
Right.
And so having those opportunities, we're starting to reduce the amount of fraud that occurs because the bank catches it earlier.
Brilliant. It's totally brilliant. Judy, let's talk about we talked about PrimePoint and what they offer customers. What about products related to AI? What do you offer some of your clients?
So what we have done right now is developed a knowledge-based system, and what you will see is Ask Bee.
Ask Bee.
And Bee is the matriarch of our company.
Okay.
She founded the company.
Bee Bothwell.
Bee Bothwell,
Right,
that's
got it.
right. Okay. And she always wanted to feed you or help you.
Right.
Very Italian mama. And my very first day, she's like, you need lunch, come with me.
Right.
Adorable. Can't live without her. She is the best. And we recognize that that's the kind, she raised her sons to provide that kind of experience.
Right.
You need something? How can I help you? What can I do? And I've provided some other materials that will show how it works. You go into the system, it's a chatbot, and you start asking questions. Now, prior to this, you would have given your personnel policy, you would have given all your company materials. We load that into the system. So now you're taking a lot of time saved because now the staff can go look it up themselves.
Yep.
They can do it any time of the day or night. They don't have to wait for HR. They don't have to wait for a supervisor. Right. They want to know what this personnel policy is on vacation time. Sure. They want to know, these different things. And it's very easy for them to utilize. Everybody has a chatbot at this point.
Yeah.
Every holiday season comes up, and I purchased a sweater for my father-in-law at one point. Every year I get the same email. Oh, here's this. This is something you'd like.
Right.
That's all AI.
Yeah,
it's all keeping track of it all.
Yeah. Well, it makes me sad because I go to chatbots just to talk to people. And speaking of Bee, you brought some Bee chocolates here.
I did. So we're not quite done with Valentine's Day yet because we are giving all the love out for Bee.
Right.
It's a brand new product in our system, and we're hoping everybody who gets the opportunity to see it will embrace it and help save themselves some time.
Sweet, literally. And then handbooks, right?
Yes.
What's PrimePoint doing with that?
Most organizations have their own handbook. They've already written it. There's a lot of nuances to that because some HR folks are here and some HR folks are here. So you get a level of them. What we try to do is when we put it in the system, we get to work with them and say, okay, is this what you were thinking? Is this let's talk about this policy, this policy. Our HR team will support folks when they're trying to write new policy. Because every once in a while, a new one will come out, and we all have to step quickly to it and make sure that we've got it situated before it goes out for prime time.
Rules change often.
It does.
Well, I have to tell you, Judy Saylor, this is great information. Folks, you want to go to primepoint.com. Some great information on there. Head over to the Knowledge Center tab, and you can learn all about AI and other trends in the HR and payroll world. Judy Saylor. You can't spell sailor without AI. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back right after these words.
Did you know you could save more than you think by installing motion sensors and automatic dimmers on lights you only use now and then? Plus, there are rebates for that. Believe it. For more, connect at bizsave.pseg.com, your trusted partner in energy efficiency.
Welcome back to NJBI is Minding Your Business as we take a deep dive on what's going on with the New Jersey state budget for fiscal year 2026. And here to talk about it is NJBI's Mr. Budget himself, Chief Government Affairs Officer Christopher Emigholz. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for being here, Bob.
It's always great when you come here, Chris. We get to talk dollars and cents. More dollars than cents sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know if it's great for the everybody else to hear what I have to say, but I enjoy being here as always.
All right, so Governor Murphy's proposed a budget of $58.1 billion in spending, or spending package. It's about an increase of $1.4 billion from the FY25 budget. So Chris, and there's $1 billion in new taxes in this thing. What was your instant reaction to it? And not so much the instant, but what is it since you've dug deep into it?
Well, similar to last year's disappointment, which I think exceeded disappointment last year with the tax on the business community, I see it disappointing again. We have the same kind of stubborn, recurring structural deficit that we've had in recent years, and that's not fixed. It's a little smaller than it used to be, but we still have this $1.2 billion where we're spending more than we're bringing in.
Right.
That's not sustainable. The governor talked a good game before the budget about 5% across the board cuts, and if we truly saw that, that means we wouldn't have $1.4 billion in new spending, as you outlined at the beginning. So again, there's a disappointment there. And the cuts are at things that are actually going to stimulate the economy, such as higher ed, manufacturing programs, and so disappointment there. You also see tax increases, again, maybe a little bit better public policy-wise, economic policy-wise, than the $1 billion corporate business tax last year, but it's still over $1 billion. And instead of being targeted on corporations, it's now all across the economy. It's going to hit people. It's going to hit make housing more expensive. It's going to make services that we all use more expensive, and does it in a way that I think is almost schizophrenic in that there's things that we think are growing in New Jersey, but we're going to tax them. Right. There's things that we're proud of, the industry coming to New Jersey, but we're going to tax it. And it's like, but what do we want? And I see a lack of a plan in this budget. So I think disappointing is the one word that I would say about this budget. There's some positive things, but there's a whole lot of negative.
Yeah, we'll get to the positives too. I know you like the positives, which is great. Some of those taxes, I wanted to read one of them off. Two of the bigger ones, I should say. Potential new tax burden of $317 million on a realty transfer fee. So basically, Governor Murphy is proposing doubling the fee on home purchases between $1 million and $2 million from 1% to 2%, and the proposal is to triple the rate to 3% for property sales over $2 million. So my question to you, Chris, is should people who don't have a $1 million home be worried about this?
Yes, I think everybody that cares about the affordability crisis we have in New Jersey should care. And if you care about affordable housing, and sometimes affordable homes and the affordability in general, people like to separate those two issues. You can separate them. Both crowds should be worried about this tax. I think there is a chilling effect, and we see it right now. Part of the reason why home prices are as high as they are for the person that wants to move, the person that wants to relocate to New Jersey, the person that's starting out buying a home and struggling, is we don't see enough supply. And so it's a supply where there's not a lot of people selling because interest rates are so high. Right. They don't want to go to a new home because they know they're not going to be able to upgrade to a new home in the way they maybe would have when the real estate prices were lower and the interest rates were lower. But there's also this chilling effect where we're not building enough homes. And so we want more building and more selling. Why on earth would you put any tax in the market? And then by taxing the upper end of the market, and you have to acknowledge, $1 million, $2 million sales of homes, that's the upper end of the market. Right. But what it's going to do is if you chill that end of the market, well, the guy that's maybe got the $700,000, $800,000 house that wants to move up is going to see maybe less upward mobility. Right. The guy that's got the $300,000, $400,000 house that wants to move up is going to see less upward mobility. The guy that's renting that wants to buy is going to see less upward mobility. So you're chilling the entire market, which will have less sales, less building, and less supply, which leads to higher prices.
It's like compression, right?
Yes, compression.
Second biggest tax, $402 million for a significant increase in the internet gaming and online sports wagering tax rates. They would go from 15% and 13% respectively to 25%. Chris, is this a case where New Jersey just cannot help itself to not be in the middle of the pack somewhere on a tax?
I think that is a good read on it, Bob. I think this is also an example of the schizophrenia with some of our policies, that we should be proud the fact that online gaming is doing well in the state. And online gaming, the way the legislature and governor years ago put this together, it has to be tied to property in the state. It can't just be some company from out of state making money off New Jerseyans. So because of that, it's good for Atlantic City. It's good for our South Jersey economy. And we're proud of the growth. Part of that growth is that it's more affordable product here than elsewhere. And so what are we going to do when we're proud of that growth? Let's tax it. And let's make it less successful. Let's make it grow less in the future, and maybe make internet sports gambling in other states maybe more attractive. It doesn't make sense. And I would throw, this was a long line of sin taxes in the budget. And think about cannabis as another example. Literally in the same budget address, the governor's talking about how great sports gambling is, but we're going to tax it. Cannabis, he's going to tax. It's a much smaller tax, but it was intentionally made to have a low tax rate to kind of incentivize people coming off the black market into the legit market. There's a lot of positive reasons for that. Job creation, having people use a safer product. And what do? Let's increase taxes. Instead of $2.50 on an ounce of cannabis, $15 on an ounce of cannabis. That's an insane tax. And of course it's going to have ramifications in the industry and their success here. And won't we want to see this grow and flourish rather than like stymie it? I don't get that. And there's a host of sin taxes that will increase when you're buying alcohol at happy hour, when you go to smoke a cigarette. I mentioned cannabis and online gambling. I don't see the logic in those. The other big one that I do want to reference, and again, just hits regular people in industries that we want to succeed in New Jersey, is the sales tax expansion. Hasn't gotten as much attention because we know we have a 6.625% rate, and that rate has been odd since it went from 7 to 6.625 in the Christie administration. But that odd rate, they're not proposing to bring it back to 7 yet. We don't know if we'll get there someday. But they're going to extend things that are currently not sales tax applicable. They're going to make them pay sales taxes. Things like participatory sports. Don't we want more people to be getting off the couch, looking at their iPhones, and actually out playing sports and doing something with their families?
Well, they could be gambling on the internet. They're going to pay that one.
Yes, that's true. They're going to make vehicle trade-ins more expensive. It's going to make buying a car more expensive when we've already seen recent years where cars have gotten outlandish with their prices. We want to make streaming digital services more expensive. We're still waiting for the definition of exactly what they want to do with that. But there's a lot of companies, small companies, medium companies, giant corporations that do a lot of things online. And they have a lot of electronic products and their computer software, cybersecurity, you name it. Are you going to tax all of those things right now? They're not. If every one of those things is 6.625% more expensive, you got to think that either there's less of that being bought, or somebody's going to be paying a higher price for whatever they're buying.
Well, the good news for me, Chris, is I have no vices, and I never leave the house, so I'll be fine with this plan. So I'm kidding, of course. And just going back to the spending, it's $58.1 billion, which is 2.7% higher than last year, and 67% higher since Governor Murphy became the governor. Were you surprised? Did you think there would actually be a little paring back? You always expect a budget to grow somewhat, but he had spoken about trying to pare back. It was going to be a difficult budget, he said before. Were you surprised that it was actually higher?
Yes and no. I was hopeful that there would be some more flat aid across the board, and you see things being held flat. I expected a lot of the things that were added to the budget in recent years by the legislature at the last minute would have been taken away, and they were. And that's not to say that all of those cuts were deserved, because there were good things that the legislature chose to add that were taken away by the governor. One of which I would say the county colleges had a $20 million cut, added it back, $20 million cut, added it back, and we're back to the same place where they were supposed to get a $20 million cut that was added back by the legislature. So when the governor is across the board cutting things the legislature added, that would be one of them. But we all know this was wildly popular, both Democrats and Republicans, majority, minority legislative members. And it's also something, you're stimulating the economy, you're providing workforce training, you're providing an affordable college option for people that want to go to college for the first time. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense and fit with the governor's stronger and fairer plan. I don't see how cutting county college is a stronger or fairer. So some of the cuts, I think, are more higher ed, business, manufacturing focused. EDA had a big cut in their budget. We have to see more details on what that is exactly. But those things are disappointing. Other things that aren't stimulating the economy, we saw them growing like they always are. So this budget increase, it's not sustainable. That 67% you referenced. Now, to give the governor credit, a big chunk of that 67% is getting us to 100% of our pension payments, which is a good thing, to right the fiscal ship of our state, and getting us to 100% of what the school funding formula says. That's a good thing because that's property tax relief and workforce development at the same time. So get those things. But there's a big chunk outside of those things that are increasing all the time, and that's not sustainable. You can't grow by that much in just 8 budgets and expect it not to lead to either tax increases or some impact on the affordability of New Jersey.
Yeah. So let's go with some of the positive. You mentioned the full pension payment and the school funding formula. What other positives did you see in the budget?
Something the governor threw out 4 tax relief ideas, and 3 of which are focused on the business community and specifically the innovation economy. So I was happy to see discussion on that. So the governor threw out the idea there's a bill in the legislature, 2 bills, one on the angel investor tax credit, which has moved in the legislature, and one actually just moved in the legislature after the governor's budget address, and I think the governor deserves some credit for getting this moving, is something we call QSBS, Qualified Small Business Stock. But both of these things are angel investor and QSBS, giving money to the guys innovating, giving money to the startups that are trying to do new things, making New Jersey more attractive for the investors that want to come here and invest money, and knowing that it's a better tax play to invest here than another state, or at least in the QSBS bill to catch New Jersey up to other states. Right now, we're an outlier with how much we don't support small business investments in New Jersey. This bill would catch us up and put us in line with what other states do.
Good.
So good thing. So those 2 are good. The governor proposed, but this is not a bill, we'll yet to see any details, a bill to incentivize global manufacturers doing next-gen manufacturing to come to New Jersey. Again, supporting our innovation economy. That could be a good thing. And something that actually everybody might see in the stores when they go shopping is saying, I talked about the sales tax expansion, but one where he wants to contract some of the things we tax with our sales tax is baby products and sunscreen. So when you have a new baby, we all know you spend a lot of money at Babies R Us, or a lot of money on Amazon, a lot of money at Target, Walmart. And if that stuff is now 6.625% more affordable, that's a good thing. And sunscreen, if that has become more affordable, we spend a lot of money on sunscreen in the summer here in New Jersey at the shore, and making that more affordable is a good thing for our families. But I would say that affordability will be more than offset by the increases in the other sales tax items. But happy to see some of the focus on innovation with some of those tax cuts that I mentioned.
Okay. So in closing, Chris, when the governor proposes a budget, it is a starting point, and then we get to June. But there is a surplus here that we haven't discussed. Where do you think this is all going? Do you think all these taxes are going to take place? Do you think the surplus will be dug into? What do you think? What's your prediction between now and June?
I think there's going to be somewhat of a compromise. I think it's probably going to be a little bit of a hybrid approach where maybe some of these taxes are accepted, unfortunately, because I think living in a state with, you could argue, one of the highest tax climates in the nation, we don't need any new taxes, but some might be accepted that are viewed less burdensome by the legislature than others. But I also think they might further look at where they can cut some spending. And I think the legislature will want to eat into that surplus and potentially either spend more or just not tax as much, and therefore they have to find some way to pay for that. So I think the $6.3 billion surplus will probably be reduced for the next governor. Does that turn into a $5 billion surplus where they get rid of all the taxes? I have no idea. The governor deserves credit for having a surplus. 6.3 is not something to sneeze at because it's significantly larger than previous governors have had from both parties. So that's a positive thing, especially with the uncertainty about potential federal cuts, with the uncertainty about new administration, what their priorities might be. I think having a surplus is good. But I could see it be a little less than 6.3, and I think we can get away with that if we avoid some of those tax increases. Maybe we can find a healthy surplus and a healthier tax position in this budget at the same time.
And then we'll be talking about the lack of surplus next year. But Chris, this is great stuff. Thank you for always, as always, for doing what you do with the budget. It's always great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
All right. And thank you for joining us on NJBI's Mind Your Business. We'll see you next time.
Did you know? Switching the airflow direction of your ceiling fan each winter and summer can help you conserve energy and save money? Believe it. For more, connect at bizsave.pseg.com, your trusted partner in energy efficiency.